Hello, and welcome. Welcome once again to the Secrets of the High Demand Coach. And I'm here with yet another high demand coach, and that is Evan Tzivanakis. He's an award-winning accredited executive coach. He's a leadership development specialist. He's a management consultant. He's an online visiting lecturer at the EU Business School in Switzerland. In other words, he really knows his stuff. Now, he's also the owner of Executive Coach Asia and specializes in helping professionals to develop the skills and strategies that they need to succeed. With a wealth of experience managing more than 500 employees across 8 different countries and leading companies to expand across the Asia Pacific region, he is well equipped to help his clients navigate their professional journey, and he's here to share with us today. Evan, I'm so excited to have you on the show, and I can't wait to jump in and hear more about your book and what you do. But before we get there, I'd love to pause for a second and just hear your story. What were you doing before coaching and consulting, and how'd you ultimately end up making the leap, and why?
Nice to be here with you, Scott, and thank you for the invitation. And I'm excited as well. And I come from a practitioner's background. So I was a manager, I was a CEO, I was a director. So my story is I went to school in Greece, as you probably understood from the surname, and then I studied in Switzerland. My first trade was hospitality business management. And then I worked in Switzerland for 3 years. And then I went to the UK. I did my master's 1 year because I had the experience before. And then once I graduated with an MBA from Leeds Metropolitan University in the UK, now it's called Leeds Beckett, I worked for a company. I started in sales and I got promoted to a team leader. And then after a year, I got promoted and I became the branch managing director. I was responsible for 2 offices, around 75 employees. I was there for almost 8 years. That was from 2004 to 2011, almost 12. So there, I was really, strategized and executed the expansion and all kind of operational aspects of the company, including recruitment, sales, business development, customer service, human resources, and administration. I had a great team behind me. Daily training with the sales guys, really intensive kind of environment, training, coaching, which was it came natural. Okay. It wasn't part of my job, but I suppose I always like to work with people and develop people. So I did that for almost 8 years. And then I was headhunted. I worked for a financial company for 6 years. My last year, I was based out of Sydney, Australia. And in this company, I kind of directed the operations of the business within my assigned regions, established vision, mission, strategy, and annual targets, and then managed sales leadership of around, at the time, when I left, I was around 300 personnel across 6 regional offices.
Wow.
And then I decided to become a coach because of that experience. Because I believe that then, I worked with different companies and I realized that, it's all about people at the end of the day. And you could as a company, you could have a great product, but if internally you don't have the right culture, if your culture is toxic, I think you will struggle to scale because you will have a lot of internal motivational issues. And I've also seen companies which the product is a bit average, mediocre, but they kind of scale and they scale fast because internally they know how to manage people. And I went into coaching, I went to training, and that's number one. So I kind of went from a practitioner's point of view. And actually my wife also played a role because we're thinking what to do. And then she said, she said to me, I think, you have that experience, you're good in talking. Why don't you, why don't you become a speaker or a coach or a trainer? And then that's how the idea was, was kind of seeded in, and that's where it all started. And I'm doing it since 2017.
Okay.
And I'm excited. And, the last couple of years have been challenging because from our perspective, I shifted everything online, all my training and learning and development and all my, training and coaching. I think now is like 95% I do it online. Which I actually now love it. Otherwise, we wouldn't be doing that, right? Me and you right now.
Yeah.
But for the first 6 months, 2 years ago, it was challenging.
Yeah. Wow. So I'd love to hear, what would you say now that you're coaching, now that you're doing this consulting, you're working with companies all over the world, what would you say some of the most important work that you're doing at the moment?
Well, look, a lot of engagements lately, it is how do I become a better leader? How do I manage remote and hybrid teams? And how do I create a culture, a high performing team, a culture that can execute?
Yeah.
So, and what what I like, what is my passion? I like to see when people develop. I like to see that transformation. And I think, you have two things. You have information and transformation. I like to work with my clients and help them to transform, because if you really need information, you don't need me. You have YouTube. you have this chat GTP AI. But if you're really looking for for transformation, a coach can really help. And a coach is there. And I'm not trying to sell you coaching or sell coaching, but it's true. It will keep you accountable. And I think this is one of the biggest benefits, is a coach to be there to keep you accountable and to help you, to support you and to help you come through and to help you succeed.
Yeah.
And sometimes in my coaching, yes, I have my framework and everything, but sometimes in some of the coaching sessions, I'm just there as a sounding board, letting my clients talk and bring out their frustrations and their challenges.
Yeah. I think that's one of the more underestimated values of having a coach, is that place to come and talk with somebody that's not just like going and complaining, because if you talk to your spouse or you talk to your friends, it ends up just being like your negative side of the story. But there's this, this phrase is overused, but there's a safe place for you to go and process through information. And when you have a good coach, to also be called out on your crap, whenever, like when you're wrong, having someone be able to say, hey, have you thought about, it's like, oh my goodness, I've never thought of it that way. So otherwise, you just find people who will justify the way you're feeling, and it's really not helpful. And you talk about a toxic culture. It's one of the ways that a toxic culture comes from the outside in. So I love that you brought that up. One of the things that you said is something that I think is just top of mind for a lot of people right now. And that's particularly, how do you manage remote and virtual employees? And again, you've had to make this transition in your own business. You're helping others do it. What would you say are some of the ways that challenge is showing up now? Because it's changed a lot over the course of the COVID pandemic. So let's start there. How is it? What's that showing up like now?
It's getting better, but I think the key word here is trust. Like, this is really what goes through managers, C-level executives when it comes to remote and hybrid work. Do I really trust them to work from home when they are working from home? So the question is, are they really working when they are working from home? So, because in a remote work setting or in a hybrid work setting, there is no management by walking about.
Right.
So how do you make sure that your people are productive, engaged at the same time while they are working from home? And the key here is, you could have an engaged employee that is not productive. And on the opposite side, you could have a productive employee that is not engaged. So the approach that you should take as a manager is totally different. So I think trust is the biggest thing here. And the worst thing that you can do as a manager, as a C-level executive, as somebody who is managing people, is not to not trust your people, but the worst thing you can do is to show them you don't trust them. Because the minute you show someone you don't trust them, it's like a personal relationship. The minute you show someone you don't trust them, I think you kind of lost the game.
That's so good. I've got like 1,000 questions, so I'm trying to pick the right one. So you made this statement that you can have an engaged employee is not productive, productive employee that's not engaged. And for a lot of folks, I know that engagement is basically happy productivity, right? It's managerial code for we want you to get a bunch of stuff done and not complain. And so and that's the most negative connotation on it, but that's happening behind the scenes and under the surface sometimes.
Yeah.
So talk to me, slice and dice that a little bit. What does an engaged but non-productive employee look like? And how's that different from one that is productive and not engaged?
I like what you said, get the job done without complaining. That's the ideal world, but we are dealing with people and it's a challenge, right? Okay, what do I mean? You could have can you imagine? I think we all had an employee who is engaged. What do I mean by engaged? They love to work with you. They love the company. They love the industry, but are not productive. Maybe they're not closing sales or whatever their tasks are. So it means they need training. They need on-the-job training, shadowing, learning new techniques. I don't know, whatever, negotiation skills, whatever. So they need training because if they are engaged, it means their heart is in it. So, and on the opposite side, you might have this kind of employee they're really productive. They're perfect. They're always on time. They always attend the meetings. They do the job, clock in, fine, clock out on time. They're never late, but they're not engaged. And they might resign tomorrow. And you're like, wow, what happened? Where did that come from? This kind of employees are a bit quiet. Like they do everything. They're so professional. They do everything right because they don't want to give you they don't give you a right to say anything against them. But sometimes all of a sudden they just resign because they're not engaged. And look, there are some employees that, whatever you do, they will just be not engaged. But maybe you fail to sit down and ask them, hey, Scott, how is your week? How's your week has been? How is life? What are you struggling with? What did you enjoy the most this week? What do you enjoy the least? How can I support you? How's your wife, girlfriend, partner, boyfriend, whatever, when you go home and you're a bit late, couple of days. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I think you need to get to know your people. So it doesn't matter. You might listen to this podcast now. You have a new business and you only have 3 to 5 people. I think it's the same applies if you're managing 5 people or 500 people. The more you know about your people, the better you can manage them, I think.
Yeah. So how do you explain that? Because managerial fatigue, by many measures is kind of at an all-time high, right? Just leadership burnout across the board. People are just tired and it's probably not going anywhere anytime soon. So for that manager is sitting there saying like, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm exhausted. Now you're telling me you want to talk about something that has nothing to do with work, right?
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who's in that place that doesn't feel like they have time to do that?
Yeah, we always talk about managers, but at the end of the day, they are also humans. So it's not easy. And I think if you like to be a manager, if you like to work with people, you will find it easier during this, you see my book, during this VUCA times. But if you are struggling, what I would suggest you do, you take a week off, because you know what I mean, like really, because look, sometimes we say do this, do that, do this, but sometimes you just need to be in a different environment and be surrounded by different people for a week, just completely off. But I mean completely off, like not checking your emails, not working 1 hour every day, like completely off, and do the thing you like to do. Like for me, for example, I like to exercise daily for like 45 minutes. I like to pump some iron, to walk a little bit, just to bring it. It really relaxes me. And then I go home, I take a shower. And the moment I come out of the shower, I feel fresh. I'm ready to go. Some other people, maybe you can take a nap. The Spanish siesta. It's a good thing in the afternoon. You're kind of recharging yourself, or maybe you can watch whatever motivates you. I mean, I don't know. Maybe you like to play chess, or I don't know. So, but do the things you like to do a little bit every day. And if you really feel you can't go more, just take a week off or something and go on holiday and be in a totally different environment. Changing your environment will change your thoughts. Because look, Okay, whatever I say behind the screen, you need to do this, you need to do that. It's easier said than done. I understand. But really, you need that's where Scott, I think self-awareness comes into place. You really need to understand and to know yourself and to speak up. Go to your direct supervisor, go to your manager and say, listen, this is what I'm facing. Don't keep it.
Yeah.
Let it. Yeah.
So good. So good. So there's another question I have for you here. And that is it's my favorite of the show. It's where we get the name of the show. This is the creme de la creme, if you will. So tell me this. What would you say is the biggest secret that you wish wasn't a secret at all? What's that one thing that you wish every leader, manager, CEO, founder that's listening today knew?
The biggest secret? Wow, that's a difficult question. You should have sent that to me earlier. I think is to be honest with yourself. Do you know what I mean? Like, to be honest with yourself, because lately they have been, you go on LinkedIn, I'm quite active there, and think you are as well, and you see all these posts about how to manage, what managers should do, remote work, 4-day week. But at the end of the day, we cannot forget that business owners, managers, C-suites are also human, and they have been under tremendous pressure over the last couple of years, especially these middle managers. I call them the sandwich managers, the ones that they need to keep shareholders happy or their boss happy, and at the same time they need to keep the people below them engaged and productive. So being a middle manager nowadays is not easy. So I think the biggest secret is it's not a secret, is to be honest to yourself, to know yourself, and to take the time off if you need, and to ask for help if you really need. And again, I know it's easier said than done, but take that step forward to help yourself. Yeah. Because sometimes if you're a manager, nobody is there to help you. You have pressure from both sides.
Yeah, it's definitely a unique challenge being in a place. And one of the things that I've found, I call it the backdoor theory, right? And that is, if you go into any restaurant, most of the employees come through the back door, but all the customers come in through the front door. And if you're not careful, you'll only ever see the restaurant from the back side, from your perspective, but your customers are all doing it from the front side. And I think it's so common for us, frontline workers are mad at management, because they see the front door. Top level leaders are mad at management because they see the back door, right? And no one recognizes, hey, there's this perspective that's trying to hang on to both of these worlds and both of these realities at the same time. So I love that you highlight that, because it's helpful for us to kind of take a pause for a second and just say, hey, what does the world look like from their perspective? And just highlighting the humanity of that middle management layer and their real people, real needs, and real desires, I think cannot be said enough. All right. So what I'd like to do, I got another question for you, and then I want to hear a little bit about your book, and you can explain the VUCA acronym for those of us who don't know it. But before we get there, I want you to take off your coach consultant hat, put on your CEO hat, and talk to us a little bit about what it looks like, the next stage of growth for you as a leader and for your business.
I want to support more people, and I want to support companies and people. I have a few assignments with different companies to develop their learning and development department, to engage people. And I see a lot of need right now to IT companies and tech companies, because I don't know, but the tech guys, the IT guys, I think they have a different way of thinking. Maybe they think more 1 + 1 = 2. So I think there is a demand there, and it's a great environment to work with. And I want to support as many people as possible in 2023. And what was the other question?
What challenges do you think you'll have to overcome to get there?
I think the biggest challenge is to be adaptable. I think adaptability is a trait that we all need to have over the next few years. Are like to be able to adapt, to think fast on your feet, to think faster than you think, and then to take action, to be adaptable. I give you an example. One of my previous clients last year from the US, actually, an IT company, what he did in the middle of the pandemic, the schools were closed. So due to the nature of his work, they are in IT, a lot of his staff cannot work from home. They need to be in the factory. Okay, they need to assemble stuff, design, and so on. Now, what he did, he transformed, due to the fact that the schools was closed, he transformed his biggest conference room into a classroom. He hired a retired teacher. Then the employees that had kids, school kids, and the fact that the school were closed, where can the kids stay? They cannot stay home alone. I need to go to work. So you understand what he did. Mm-hmm. So the parents will go to work and they will bring their kids with them to attend for free, to attend school and breakfast and lunch in the same environment. So the parents don't have to worry and the kids are safe. So, wow, sometimes a lot of coaches will learn a lot from our clients, how to do things. So that's an example of sitting down. Okay, what is the situation? What is the challenge that my employees will face? How do I solve it? And sometimes you have to think, yes, okay, you need to think short term. You need to manage your finances. I understand that. But sometimes you need to also to think long term. He didn't think, okay, so he hired the teacher, he paid from his own pocket, breakfast and lunch was provided, he bought all the equipment, and for 3 months, his employees had nothing to worry about. Wow. How cool was that?
That's awesome.
And then he told me, Evan, my email is full of CVs. He developed that helped him locally for his company reputation and brand name. You say people want to come and work here.
That's fantastic. Oh, what a great story. So tell us a little bit. You've got a book that at the time of this recording is coming out. By the time we air, it'll have been out for a few weeks. But tell us a little bit about the book, what VUCA means, and where folks can find it.
It will be published next week, first week of March. That's the plan. We are putting the final touches together. The VUCA means volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And I think those 4 words will stay with us for the years to come because the world of work is changing a lot, because expectations, both from employers and employees, is changing. So Leading in VUCA Times is a book that I wrote in the middle of the pandemic. And it's a 40 smaller chapters. The whole book is around 250, 200 and think will be finalized, will be around 270 pages. And I share personal stories about management, leadership, all the mistakes I made. I think it's on chapter 7, the minute when I was in the UK that I lost 50% of my staff because I was coming across as too arrogant, too aggressive. It was all about me, the lessons I learned, how I bounced back and all that. And it's just personal stories, some stories of some of my clients as well, and recommendations and suggestions on how to not only manage better, but at the end of the day, as a manager, feel less stressed. And it's coming out and it's going to be in all the major online publishing, Amazon and all that. So it's going to come out, I think, in around 7 weeks' time. Fantastic. And once it's published, I will self-promote myself and the book on LinkedIn. I'm going to put the link there on my profile, and for the people that they wish to take a copy, it will be a paperback as well as Kindle.
Fantastic. All right. So I know some folks have been listening and they're like, yes, like I'm managing and, I'm feeling the burnout. I'm feeling the pressure of, keeping everyone moving the same direction. I've got to manage all these remote folks, but, and they're saying, hey, how can I find more out about your work and connect with you? So how can folks do that? How can they find out more about you and your work?
On LinkedIn, I'm quite active there. You can also, so if you type Evan Tzivanakis, I will come up. You can connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email at evan@executivecoachasia.com. So yes.
Fantastic.
And then we can connect, have a chat, and take it from there.
I love it. I love it. Well, fascinating conversation, Evan. So happy to have you on the show. Thank you for being here. I truly appreciate it. And for everyone listening, your time and attention mean the world to us. It was such an honor to have you, and I cannot wait to see you next time. Take care.